Welcome my dear students of third prep. أهلا بيكم في حلقة جديدة مع درس من دروس الساينس تحت رعاية وإشراف وزارة التربية والتعليم. Today we are going to start the last unit of biology in our syllabus, and the first lesson in it is about cell division. Before we start to know what's meant by cell division and go through this lesson, at the beginning we have to know what are the types of cells in our body. The cells of all living organisms are divided into two types, which are either somatic cells and reproductive cells. I'm going to mention it with you, and then we're going to discuss what's meant by these two types of cell. Somatic cells as any type of cell in your body. أي نوع cell in your body is called somatic cell, like skin, like liver, like stomach, like the kidney, lungs, any organ in your body. The type of cell in it is called somatic cells. Type, like this examples like liver, stomach, skin. What about the plant? The plant also has a somatic cells as roots, stem, and leaves, all the parts of the plant. What about reproductive cells? It's a new word for us, and I'm going to discuss it with you. Reproductive cells, they are in animals. They have reproductive cells as testes and ovaries. They are the organs which are responsible for reproduction, and I'm going to discuss it with you now. But what about the plants? The plants also reproduce. It grow up and reproduce and giving new plants, new individuals by anther and ovaries. يبقى here the reproductive cells in animals called testes and ovaries. What about in plants are anthers and ovaries. Before we go through this part, we have to know something which I'm going to make it with you as a diagram. Let's go and see what. Now we are going to make the diagram to know the difference between those types of cell. As I said, the living organism cells are either somatic or reproductive. Okay, and as I said that somatic, all the cells in your body, skin, eyes, kidney, or whatever. What about reproductive? You have to know it well because all the lesson is depending on this part. Reproductive, either if I said we have animals, and animals including the human being, and the reproductive cells in plants. They are different. Okay, what about the reproductive cells in the animals? I have male and female reproductive cells or organs. The male reproductive organ in the animals is called testes. What about the female are ovaries. Okay, what about the plants? The plant male is called anther. What about the female? Also, as the human has ovary. This part is known. What about another part? Each one of those reproductive cells producing kind of things which is called gametes, which is very new topic بالنسبة لنا this year. What about the gametes that resulted from the male is called sperms. The male human or the male of the animals producing sperms. What about the females producing ova? Ova is the plural of ovum. What about the gametes? Those are called, I said, gametes. Remember this word very well. What about the gametes of the plants? The anther, the anther is the male reproductive organ or cell producing pollen grains. Pollen grains دي اللي بنشوفها بتطير من الفلاور لفلاور for reproduction. And the ovaries also producing ova. يعني plant are equal في plant and animals are the same in the case of female. طيب what about somatic and reproductive cells containing number of chromosomes that we are going to talk about them called 2n. I'm going to discuss it with you. Remember this number 2n. And also the reproductive cells containing also the same number of chromosomes 2n. طب what about the reproductive cells, the tests and ovaries, all of them containing 2n. طب what about the gametes, either the sperms, ova, pollen grain, they are containing n number of chromosomes. Remember this diagram because I'm going to discuss it now, so we have to remember chromosomes in the somatic cells 2n, in the reproductive cells 2n, while in the gametes only n. And then we are going to discuss what's n and 2n. Let's complete this part. Now, after we know the differences between those cells, I'm going to discuss with you a very important part, which is which part of the cell is responsible for this cell division. Which part? Guess? Yes, it's the nucleus. Remember, you took before that the cell consists of many parts, and the most essential, important part is called nucleus. And this nucleus is responsible for our lesson of today, which is cell division. طب which part inside it? Let's go and see. يبقى this is the nucleus that's responsible for the cell division. طيب why it's responsible for that? Because it contains something which is very important called genetic materials, which are chromosomes. You remember this word and we use it, but now we are going to know what's meant by this genetic material, which is chromosomes. Let's see a figure representing the chromosomes. This is the chromosome. Chromosome, it's شكله كده عامل ده two threads. What's meant by threads? يعني خيطين crossing each other like the diagram in front of you. Two threads دول اسمهم ايه؟ Two chromatids. Two chromatids. They are connected as we show now in the figure with a center part called, from its name, it's called center. اسمها centromere. يبقى two chromatids connected together with the centromere. This is the structure of the chromosome. Only structure. طب if I'm asking you what about the chemical structure of the chromosome? الكروموزوم ده جواه chemicals، جواه حاجات بتشتغل عشان تعمل لي الcell division. We're producing new individuals, either male or females or others. So what are the most important part inside it? Called DNA. All of you know the meaning of DNA is kind of acid. It's abbreviation of the word called deoxyribonucleic acid. It's not for memorizing, but just for an information. You have to know just DNA. DNA ده الchemical structure of the chromosome. يعني دلوقتي الكروموزوم له structure عادي, which is two chromatids connected with centromere. طب what about the chemicals اللي جواه الcontents? DNA plus protein, wrapped with protein. DNA and protein is the chemical, chromatids and centromere is the structure of the chromosome. ايه الكروموزوم ده؟ Let's go ونشوف ايه الكروموزوم ده. الكروموزوم ده the main part inside the nucleus, which is as I said now الكروماتيدز, وشرحنا الستراكشر بتاع الكروموزومز. طيب تعالوا نشوف بقى ايه الامبورتنس بتاعه الكروموزومز. Look at this diagram before reaching this part. لما اقول لك بقى طيب ايه السيل دي consist ايه؟ السيل contains the nucleus. طب inside the nucleus في ايه؟ في كروموزومز. طب الكروموزوم دي what is the structure of the chromosome? It's either DNA and protein if he asks you about the chemical structure of chromosome. طيب الكروموزوم دي لها number. النمبر ده differ from species to another. يعني what's meant by species? I said species قبل كده عرفنا ان احنا animals والplants are many species like مثلا في dogs في cats في cows والplants في many types of species. هل all of them have the same number of chromosome؟ Exactly no. طيب يعني number of chromosomes بيخليني أعرف differentiate between species or another. يعني الكاتس عندها number of chromosomes differ عن الدوجز، الهيومن differ عن الرابت. So from the number of chromosomes I can differentiate between the species of living organisms and also in plants. Let's see here. The human being has a certain number of chromosomes. You have to know it because we are human being. We have to know the number of chromosomes in our body. We have 46 chromosomes. 46 chromosomes in all our cells except, as I said before on the demonstration على البورد, except our gametes. يعني كل السيلز في البادي عندنا containing every cell containing 46 chromosomes except الجاميتس. لو ميل يبقى السبيرمز ما فيها الهاف، لو فيميل يبقى الأوفا فيها هاف. I'm going to discuss it later كمان مرة. طيب here الهيومن 46، طب الرابت 44. It's just for memorizing، مش هنحفظها الأرقام دي. الأونيون التوماتو كل واحد عنده number of chromosomes differ، عشان كده we can differentiate between different types of species. But the number that you have to memorize it well, the number of the human being chromosomes, which is 46 chromosomes. طيب the number of chromosomes are fixed in the same species. يعني كل الhuman being either male or female or children or whatever old كلهم عندهم 46 chromosomes. طيب are there in the same somatic عندها نفس النمبر as the reproductive؟ Yes, somatic cells has the same number of chromosomes of the reproductive cells. طب مين اللي بيدفر؟ only the gametes. تمام؟ طيب here we are going to compare between number of chromosomes in the somatic cells. As I said before, وأول ما أقول somatic cell remember any cell in your body، أي cell هتقولها it's right. And the number of chromosomes in the gametes. And remember, memorize the diagram that I make it before. هنا الchromosomes in the somatic and reproductives، يعني kidney or testes or ovary containing how many number of chromosomes? Containing the complete number of chromosome of the living organism. هنتكلم على human being يعني فيها كام؟ 46 chromosomes. جزء جاي منين؟ من الفاذر، من the parent، واحد من الفاذر وواحد من المother. اوكي؟ so هنشوف بعدين ازاي. يبقى contain a complete number of chromosome, one from the male and one from the female. قلنا الميل يعني الراجل، الفيميل يعني الست. طب what about the النمبر ده بسميه complete number of chromosome which is بسميه diploid يعني double number of chromosomes which is representing by 2n اللي أنا عملتها قبل كده. يبقى كل somatic cells and reproductive cells in your body containing how many number of chromosomes? Diploid number of chromosomes 2n، ولو شطور بقى تقول لي كام؟ 46 chromosomes. طب let's see طب what are the numbers of chromosomes in the gametes of both male and female. Before now هنشوف النمبر. ايه هما الجاميتس؟ I said الميل gametes called sperms and the female gametes called ova. طب فيها كام number of chromosomes؟ فيها half the number of the chromosomes of the somatic cells. يعني بدل 2n هتبقى n واحدة. طب لو هما 46 chromosomes in all your cells body يبقى في الأوفا لو female أو السبيرم لو male هيبقى كام؟ 23 chromosomes which is the half number of chromosomes. ليه؟ عشان طبيعي after reproduction 23 from the male and 23 from the female confusion together getting a new individual containing whole number of chromosomes which is 46 in the human being which is the offspring, the baby اللي بيجي. طب نشوف يبقى containing half number of chromosomes and this is called لها اسم haploid number. haploid جاية من كلمة half number. haploid and diploid are Latin words representing double number or half number. يبقى summarizing كده السوماتيك فيها هي whole number of chromosomes, somatic و reproductive whole number which is called diploid which is 2n, while the gametes containing half number of chromosome or haploid number of chromosomes which represents by letter n. طيب أكيد الكروموسومز دي very important part in your body. It's responsible for حاجات كتير. Let's go and see طب what are the importance of those chromosomes? Let's go and see. Number one, as I said now, قلت لها علاقة children والnew offsprings. طبعا هي represents all the genetics materials of the living organism. يعني بيبي شعره أصفر، مامته لازم تكون شعرها أصفر أو الفاذر شعره أصفر، brown eyes، يبقى somehow من الجيناتكس ماتيريالز دي أو جيناتكس traits اللي أنا قلتها. يعني إيه جيناتكس traits؟ صفات الوراثية coming from either the father or the mother carried on what? On those chromosomes. يبقى now what is the first important? It's representing the genetic material of the living organism. وفهمنا يعني إيه genetic materials؟ every factor أنت بتتميز بيه، الصفات الوراثية كلها. Number two, it has the main role in the cell division as we are going to explain later. هنشوف كل الستبس بتاعت السيل division depending on the chromosomes. هو الرول الوحيد، الدور بتاعه هو السيل division. Number three من الامبورتنس بتاعته، لما بعرف النمبر of chromosomes بتاع أي حاجة it helps me to identify the animals species and the plant species. أعرف the animal the plant من النمبر of chromosomes so I can identify the species that I'm going to speak about it. طيب تعالوا بقى نشوف what is the importance of the cell division. أنا عمالة أقول cell division. إيه الimportance of cell division for living organisms؟ if I said living organisms يبقى human, animals and also plants معانا. اوكي طيب السيل division is a very important process in our life. ليه؟ بتخلي every cell الواحدة بتجت منها more than one cell. طب يعني معنى كده ايه؟ الجروينج، انت لما كنت بيبي صغنطوط قد كده بعد شوية بقى عندك سنة، بعدين سنتين، بقى now دلوقتي عندك 14 years old so you are young ladies and gentlemen. Wow, from the cell division. So the cell division helps in growth، النمو. كنا بيبيز وبنكبر، يبقى أول importance للcell division is it helps in the growth of living organisms either animals, plants and human. This is number one. طيب it's also important in the reproduction as I said before، هي مهمة جدا. طيب تعالوا بقى نشوف ايه هم types of cell division اللي هنتكلم عليهم today in details. We have two main types of cell division في حياتنا كلها. ايه هم؟ First called mitosis or in another word mitotic division. Mitosis or mitotic division. The second one is called meiosis or meiotic division. يعني choose the easiest one to tell me، بس you have to know both عشان لما يجي لك في question تعرف الفرق. يبقى mitotic division with mitosis and meiosis with meiotic division. And the meiotic division or the meiosis له another name which is called reduction, and we are going to know why we call it reduction بعد ما نشوف الستبس بتاعته. طيب let's now كده start with the first type of cell division which is meiotic or mitosis. Before we start to know the steps بتاعته we have to know شوية معلومات عن الميتوزس. The mitosis division occurs only in the somatic cells. يعني كل البادي بتاعك كله، كل سيل فيه بتحصل فيها mitotic division except الجاميتس. نتفق الاتفاق ده عشان it's very important part. All your body cells، كل الديفيجن، كل الجروث اللي انت ما بتكبر او يحصل اي جرح او سيرجري، ندخل عمليه او نلعب كوره، سكراتشنج اور وات ايفر، الكومبنسيشن او الريجنريشن اوف ذا نيو سيلز ده coming from cell division called mitosis. اوكي، يبقى الميتوزيس responsible for اللي انا قلت عليه ده. طيب how it happen؟ Look here to this diagram. Every somatic cells I said containing 2n diploid number of chromosomes. After الميتوتيك division أو الميتوزيس هيتكون لي more number of cells أكتر، يعني أنا بادئة parent cell واحدة only one cell. After the mitotic division طلعت ب 2 cells, each cell containing how many number of chromosomes? The same number of chromosome of the parent cell. يعني بادئة ب 2n هنتهي ب 2n but how many cells؟ 2. يعني تاني أنا بدأت ب 1 cell طلعت ب 2 cells each one containing the same number of chromosomes, the whole number of chromosomes. يعني كده أهو عملت growth أو عملت compensation، زودت عدد السيلز، يبقى it's the function of the mitosis as I said before. يبقى هنا it's a kind of cell division that occurs in the somatic cells، يعني بيبان فين في somatic cells in which the cell divided into 2 new cells also somatics, each one containing a diploid number of chromosomes as the parent cell. طيب ايه الامبورتنس؟ انا I said the importance وهقولهم تاني. Number 1 it helps in the growth of living organisms. Number 2 it compensates. What's meant by compensate؟ يعني بتعوض النسيج التالف either scratching, surgical or whatever. And finally it helps in kind of reproduction called asexual reproduction. Well, asexual reproduction we are going to discuss it later in lesson 2 مع بعض. Okay? طيب يبقى here we are going to memorize what are the importance of mitosis. Number 1 helps in growth of living organisms. Number 2 compensate the damaged cells either burning, scratching, surgical or whatever. And also it complete the asexual reproduction and we are going to discuss it later. تمام؟ يبقى in this part we explain what are the cell division, types of cell division, and it happens in which part of the cell in the nucleus, and the part that's responsible for this division is called chromosomes, and we discuss the structure of chromosomes, chromatids, centromere, and the chemical structure which is DNA and protein, and we have the role of we know the role of the chromosomes in the cell division. This is the end of our part in this lesson. Let's go and see, let's continue in the next episode. See you later and goodbye.